The second part of our forum is focusing on the candidates who are running for the 24th Police District Council. And we'll start off with a little explanation of what is a district council. Mike?
Many of you will remember the unfortunate incident of Laquan McDonald in 2014. And after that, there were two actual studies done. One study looked at what was happening with the police department. And we know from that study that eventually the Department of Justice issued a consent decree for reform of the police. So what they discovered that there was a very small percentage of individual police officers who were investigated and who were disciplined for use of excessive force. And that what this indicated to us is that the police were not policing themselves. And that's why we had the consent decree. Another study determined that over a 6-year period, that $614 million, more than $500 million, was used by the city utilizing taxpayer money to help pay individuals and families who successfully sued the police for these acts of excessive violence, and they won in court. Money that could have been used for more essential city services. Okay. The response to this, as we said, was the consent decree, but the response from the community was the formation of two coalitions. One called CPAC, which is the Chicago Police Accountability Coalition, and one called GAPA, which is a Grassroots Alliance for Police Accountability. They eventually, over the years, coalesced into ECPS, Empowering Communities for Public Safety. They looked at several different cities to look for models. They looked at Los Angeles, they looked at Philadelphia, they looked at Houston, and they found that these were created from the top down by the mayor's office with little civilian input from the constituents of the cities. We had a different approach. Our approach was grassroots. We wanted to hear from all community members, especially those people who are most impacted by the police, such as in the South Side, on the West Side, and the youth in the schools and outside the schools. So what happened was the creation of a Civilian Oversight Commission, and what they envisioned for the roles of the Civilian Oversight Commission would be, 1, to increase police accountability, 2, to make sure that the functions and the job of the police was more transparent to the public, 3, to create policy over the police. For the police right now create their own policy, but we wanted to increase civilian oversight. So now they would be involved in the policy-making decisions. But also we wanted to restore confidence between the community and the police, which has dropped significantly over the years. And when you don't have confidence, you don't share information. When you don't share information, crimes are not solved. But one of our approaches, at least approach that I supported, was that we did not want this to be adversarial. We understand that the police are constituents, they are members of the community. They have become overwhelmed. We know that sometimes we ask them to be psychiatric social workers. And we have to recognize that they're suffering from great anxiety, great stress. The suicide rate has increased. And this, in its own turn, becomes an obstacle for police retention and for police recruitment. So this is an advantageous, the Civilian Oversight Commission is not just advantageous to the community, but it's advantageous for the police as well. So the model they created was a hybrid: election, selection, and appointment. The district council actually encompasses 2 of those categories: election and selection. By election, you are going to choose, in every district, every police district will have to choose 3 members from these pool of individuals, and these 3 members will compose the district council through the process of election. Then the process of selection, they will choose one person amongst themselves to help create a standing committee representative of the city. And that standing committee will vet individual people for specific skill sets. People who have backgrounds in criminal justice reform, people who have background in advocacy for the homeless, for those who are mentally challenged. And then the third component, appointment, will be the mayor. She gets to choose, or he gets to choose, from that pool of skilled individuals who will form the commission. The commission itself will be an odd number, and it will also have staggered terms, and will have a non-voting member that represents the voice of young people in the community. The role then that we see for the councils will be, as I said, one major thing is to vet this standing committee, but they're also going to be, as I see it and as we have seen in the past, that we want them to be a more direct line of communication between the police commissioner, or not the police commissioner, the police commandant of each district and the community itself. We want them to be able to actually initiate public safety awareness concepts that might come up and be represented. We also want them to act as a resource for policing issues for the community, so the community can go to them and they can find out what are the policing issues. They can also address in monthly public safety awareness meetings what their issues are, and they can create a dialogue between the police and the community. None of this is going to replace CAPS, however, but it does enhance our communication to the police as we see them. So once they envision these roles and they communicate and participate in these roles, the mayor will then appoint a commission. Right now we have an interim commission. If there are any disputes that arise between the commission and the police, and we know there will be, when those arise, the city council will step in, negotiate, and help to resolve those issues, and the mayor will also have input. So I think that that's basically it as far as how we envision the Civilian Oversight Commission to be. And what I'd like to do is have all the individuals here who are candidates actually introduce themselves, talk a little bit about themselves, and tell you how they envision their role on the city council. So first, I'd like to hear from Cynthia.
Hello, my name is Cynthia McFadden. I live in the Hello, my name is Cynthia McFadden. I live in the 49th Ward where I grew up in. I moved to the 49th Ward in 1971, and I have lived in and out of this community for the last 50 years. I fought hard for accountability and oversight with the police department when we had an issue on Juneway in 1975, where my father took the lead and took it all the way to Springfield and got those officers removed for shooting a young black man in his back for no reason. I marched with him. At that time, I was 12 years old. When I came back to Rogers Park after leaving college and stuff and moved in the first precinct over there on Juneway, the gangs were so bad on Juneway. I would go down to my daughter's bedroom and I would think she was having a pot fest. They would stand right before her window and blow smoke in her window, playing crimes right before her window, all type of things. I got involved with the community. We created a community neighborhood watch where we worked and collaborated with the 24th District to clean up Juneway. And I will say this every time I get on a mic. I'm so proud of the work that we did. We met at the Good News School over there. My daughter was one of their first students. We're all products of Gale School. I love Rogers Park. It's an important part to me. My mother is dealing with Alzheimer's right now, but she remembers Rogers Park. She loves Rogers Park. She's so proud of me for being a voice in Rogers Park. I want to serve as the voice for the people. Organize the meeting. Get your voice in. Take it back to the commission and make sure it's heard. I have 30 years experience as a social justice activist and labor laws, and I have a disabled son who deals with autism. He's 32 years old. So I've been a voice for the disabled, okay? I work hard, and I look forward to serving a community that I love and endear. If you have any questions for me, I have passed my cards out. Please reach out to me. I look forward to serving you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Now we'll hear from Daniel Wolk.
Yeah, I'm Daniel Wolk, and some people often ask me why I'm running, and I've learned the answer. I'm too old to have one reason for running, so I'm just going to give one, my most sensational one. Some 12 years ago, I was teaching at a new university in Iraq, and I was elected the head of the incipient faculty senate. And we discovered that the president of the university was guilty of criminal fraud, and I turned him in to the prime minister as a whistleblower. And I got retaliated for that, fired, and then one day, unannounced, 3 guys showed up in camouflage at my door pointing AK-47s at me. I'm still mad about it. And what got me thinking, a lot of discussions with my colleagues, even after leaving, because we stayed in touch, was how did we get democracy in countries like Great Britain and the United States, and why can't they have it there? And as I got back here, I learned, you know, our own democracy is eroding. There's less and less voting, and the voting is more and more negative, uninformed. And I learned democracy for me is discussion. There's actually an old school of thought. That's what democracy is all about, is talking out ideas and coming up with new ideas. So I see my main job as a member of, I have many jobs in mind, but one of the main jobs is to spur discussion to come up with new policy and oversight ideas. And I just thought I'd give you a sample because I have enough to talk 3-4 hours about. One, at the local level, we're supposed to tailor policing to the local conditions of the district. And for me, that would mean bringing in a program that's still kind of experimental. Most police officers don't even know about it. The Neighborhood Policing Initiative, which has some promising results. This includes a new kind of police officer, district coordinating officers, who don't actually answer calls but circulate among the ordinary people and learn what the scene is. We also, I like to bring in violence interrupters, as you've heard people talk about before. And the key for members of our council will be to facilitate discussions between these two groups, a lot of very tricky issues. A violence facilitator can't be seen as collaborating with the police. So it's actually a really difficult issue that nobody's faced. On the citywide level, one idea I have is I think there should be a case manager, kind of a social worker type, at every police station. Probably should be an employee of the public health department. And every patrol officer needs to have direct access, probably should be 3 for different shifts, 3 case managers, direct access to that case manager to refer troubled people to them. It's way too complicated for patrol officers to know all the services available for people, employment, mental health, drug addiction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Another is, oversight begins with, it's discussed at great length in the consent agenda, performance evaluation. The whole system, how police are evaluated, is antiquated and frankly ridiculous. It's mostly quantitative, how many tickets they've written, how many people they've arrested, how they've done in field interrogations. We should focus much more on what they call directives. In other words, each police officer should be expected to be good at certain things like de-escalating, listening to people, talking with respect to everybody, and then there should be very aggressive feedback from the public. Another agency, maybe Office of Emergency Management and Communication, should call up everybody who's had any contact whatsoever with the police. Call 911, any interaction, there's on camera now, okay, and ask, how did it go? And every police officer should have a little file, maybe not so little, on how they did with people, and then have outside evaluators come in. Those people should be experts. They should be like respected police officers from Cleveland or some other jurisdiction. The problem now is the evaluators are their supervisors. So say a lieutenant has 15 kind of problem officers. Well, he doesn't want to report it. And that's part of the blue wall of silence, okay, that sort of conflict of interest. One thing I've thought about a lot is the police department is way over bureaucratized. And some of this work of oversight is making it even worse. We have, for example, I think a 130-page foot pursuit policy. You know, when officers have to decide whether to pursue a perpetrator, they have a split second to decide. They can't run through 130 pages in their head in a split second. So individual officers should be held responsible for making good decisions, kind of like doctors are. Okay, they're very difficult decisions to make, and that should be part of their evaluation, and not nitpick with a million details. I call that piling on protocols. Finally, now I love to throw out ideas, okay, but I expect the people in the community to disagree, okay, to have other ideas. And part of my experience as a professional dialogue facilitator, I've done it with community members and police in Los Angeles, people who are at loggerheads with each other over their ideas, and I get them talking and listening. And that's what I would like to do with members of the community. I'm sure people are not going to like every one of my ideas, but I'll change them, because all good ideas come through group discussion.
Thank you, Daniel. No, that was good. Thank you, Daniel. Now we'll hear from David Williams.
I'll try to keep this at 5 minutes. So my name is David Earl Williams III. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. I'm an author of a literature RPG series called Valor Tale. I ran for alderman in the 48th Ward in 2019, and I actually championed the CPAC model, that you see here today. That's why we have ECPS. And my mom actually lives right down the street from this place, so very convenient. I get to visit her all the time, though. So a little bit about my family. So my ex-step-uncle, who died in 2020, he was actually a Chicago police officer out of the 19th District from 1989 to 2011. His brother, my stepfather, who died in 2021, actually from cancer, unfortunately, he was a part of a gang in his youth, what we call a criminal enterprise, and, he did his time, he reformed himself, met my mother, they were together for a while. And, growing up, having these two perspectives, it was quite interesting, especially, them both being Muslim, and I'm non-denominational myself, I could say, it's a pretty diverse household there. When it comes to simply what I believe, and, there's various views on when it comes to police reforms and, being fair. So, obviously, cops, a lot of them are overworked. I do feel that there should be transition to a 4-day work week, 3 days off and 1 day for mental wellness. I do believe in bringing back foot patrols, and I would say for cops who work in the district actually should live within the district so they get to know the community better. However, at the very same time, I do believe that our tax dollars should not be going towards CPD misconduct settlements. I do think that $82 million could be invested in mental health, transitional housing for the homeless. And especially, the issue of migrants came up. Well, I believe we could prioritize and take care of migrants and the homeless here as well. Why am I running? Well, we all hear the names of police brutality, the victims of it, like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Laquan McDonald. And wherever there's injustice, we need to snuff that out. But keep in mind that police brutality, well, even police misconduct itself, generally, it doesn't just happen to black and brown people. Sometimes the situations can be different, but the end result is usually the same, unfortunately. So, having a mother who lives in this community and being familiar with what goes on, just in recent history, you had an incident that was very devastating. And it was a young 9-year-old boy, his name was Herschel Weinberger, who was riding his bike. He was steps away from his house, and a car went past the stop sign, just sped through it, and he was fatally struck by the car, and there was an off-duty officer who did this. Although they said it was accidental, it seems like this incident was just swept under the rug, and I'm shaking here because I don't even want to bring this up. It bothers me just because of the simple fact, I may not have kids myself, but I do have nieces and nephews, and if they were in a situation like that, I would be devastated. because you know, no matter how many citations this officer got, guess what? Herschel's not coming back. They wouldn't come back, especially like Tyree Nichols, you know, the individual who was pulled out of his car, beat him to death like a pinata. None of them are coming back, and this is why police accountability is so important. And I would say that even as I've been throughout the ward here, throughout the district itself, people are still running these stop signs. And, you know, this was a very big issue for a lot of people I've talked to. And I want to say that we shouldn't allow, you know, Herschel's death to be in vain. You know, we should work together on some valuable solutions to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So here's the thing. How are we going to do this? Are we going to take the stance of, oh, we hate the cops, we should get rid of them? Or maybe we might take the stance of, let's militarize the cops and never question when they're in the wrong. And I got to say to both of those, no way. I think we could take a common sense middle ground approach, and you're wondering, how are we going to do this? Simple, by working together as a community with the businesses, local organizations, block clubs, religious institutions, and yes, this will include the police as well, because that's the whole point of this, you know, regardless of your feelings on that. And speaking of working together, you know, if I'm elected or whenever that is, my role in the Police District Council would be to pretty much go out and inform people of, you know, these meetings that will take place, the policies, the very vital policies that can be set, and your input is going to be very important because this is your community as well. So as my campaign slogan goes, and it's on my buttons, and if you know me, you see my door hangers. I've talked to you briefly as I've been out. I've lost 15 pounds doing this, by the way. It's great. You know, I went from 176 to, you know, 160, 161. I was that like 10 years ago. I'm 39 now, but I look a lot younger. So, as my campaign slogan goes, you know, speak, live, breathe, unity. And that's how we're going to get things done, you know, together. And before I conclude, you know, I just wanted to say that for the past 3 months, I've had the honor of working with these two here. You know, consider voting for them, especially vote for me. I voted yesterday for myself. But, yeah, I mean, that's it. And, you know, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take it afterwards. And thank you.
Let's pass this. Okay. Thank you, David. Okay.
Hello.
Next is Edward Tate Jones.
Hi. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Edward Tate Jones. I'm going to definitely keep it a little short and sweet for you. To say why I'm running, honestly, to tell you the truth, it'd be just like every other black man will tell you why he's running. I did not choose police accountability. It chose me. All my life, I had to struggle. We and my family and neighbors had to struggle with the identity of being black, you know, walking while being black, anything while being black. I said in church one day, I can never tell you how it is to be free. And no black person could ever tell you how it truly feels to be free. When you grow up in a neighborhood, I grew up in Cabrini Green, where right a mile away was the Gold Coast. We used to be picked up by the police if we went too far and brought us back to the projects. So this is something that when I turned 18, that's when I started being an activist. I'm a middle-aged man now, and by the famous saying, I'm nowhere near as tired. Because one, accountability is everything. Just that one thing can solve so many neighborhood problems. When you're boxed in economically, racially, all those things, what do you expect? And when one of these children get killed by the police, the whole neighborhood is traumatized. Who looks after the neighborhood? Who listens to the traumatized parents? That's where these councils come in at. We need to be the voice of the community, to create programs, actually trauma-reducing programs created by the community. CPD has had many years to get it right, and they haven't. And the latest with Tyrese Nichols tells you exactly why we need these councils. I'm running as a slate with these two ladies right here. And we also been challenged as a slate, and we won, actually. And so running as a slate it's never, it's basically, I know these two people who have done community work for many years, and with this ordinance, we have to get it right the first time. So having the people in those seats who've done the work for years, who has a proven record, is why I chose these two ladies to run with. And this is, and believe you me, everybody that's running, honestly, my hat is off. Because this is, to me, it's not a competition, because we're neighbors. Yeah. It's just basically everyone here, thank you, everyone here is trying to make a difference. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Edward Tay. Now Marilyn Pagan-Banks.
Buenas noches. Good evening. It's good to be here tonight. So I have been living in Rogers Park, the 49th Ward, for almost 25 years. Actually, for almost 21 years, but been working here for almost 25 years. Started off as a pastor and a organizer, and now I am the director of A Just Harvest. And like Ed Vitae, I didn't choose this, it chose me. I have never run for anything before. I've thought about it, but the more and more I was drawn to the people and walking with people, the less I wanted to get caught up. But now this is an opportunity to also, to be part of an elected position that is about walking with the people. And it's like we said last Sunday, or whenever that was, we've been talking so much, I can't even remember. Speaking for myself, I'm already doing this work. And whether I get elected or not, I'm going to keep doing this work. I'm creating jobs. We are talking to people about development north of Howard. We are talking about taking over Howard Street and creating an African diaspora corridor there. We are already doing the work to make sure that our people have the resources in order to stay alive. Listening to the pundits on TV running for mayor, and listening to the last one that ends with, if we're going to turn Chicago around, we need to make it safe for people to walk the streets. I call bullshit. If you want to turn Chicago around, you need to make sure people can eat. You need to make sure people have a place to sleep. You need to make sure people have a living wage job. You need to make sure people have health care, quality daycare, and care for their elderly parents and sick or disabled family members. Before anybody starts worrying about walking safely in the street, you won't have to worry about being safe in the street if everyone had what they needed. And this is not to romanticize crime and to make it all seem like they're all crimes of need, because they're not. We all know that. I've had somebody tell me I chose that life. Okay, so I get that. But I also understand that sometimes the way into that life is from a place of need. And I know that as someone who almost stole a box of diapers for her baby because I didn't have no money. But it was because I was scared to death and decided not to. And the security guard who was watching me, who I didn't know was watching me, said, "I'm glad you didn't do it, because I would have had to arrest you." Right? And so I understand that sometimes the way into that life is because of need. And so we have to do our part. If we want to be safe, we have to make sure our neighbors aren't hungry. We have to make sure they have some place to sleep. We have to make sure that they have access to what they need. And the programming has to happen today. We do healing circles now. We work with the interrupters right now. We work when the state money's in and when the state money's out. We work with our community whether there's funding or there isn't, because those are our kids. And those of y'all who know me know I will do anything for my children and the 12 children that they gave birth to. Yeah, I got 12 grandbabies now. Beautiful black children who should never, ever have to run behind their mother and say, "Please don't kill me. Please don't kill me," when they see the police, because that's how they understand the police right now. So we have to begin to work together. I'm not coming in with answers. I am coming in with some solutions we've already been working on, and we're going to keep trying and doing it, but I'm coming in ready to work with all of you, because we have the answers, and the folks in our communities have gifts. They have ability. What they don't have is investment, and what they haven't had is someone to believe that they can. So just for prevention, but yes, for never giving up on anybody, whether they're 30 or 40 or 50, because no one No, we don't have any right to give up on anybody. And I just was watching something yesterday, and she said, I've lost too many. I've lost too many, so I can't afford to be hopeless. We've lost too many. Boom. 5 years old was shot in front of our church. And we can say, well, they were aiming for his daddy. We can make all the excuses we want. All he was doing was visiting his daddy. All his daddy was doing was being happy to see his son. It doesn't matter what else was going on. That's all that they were doing. And if children can't visit their fathers safely, then shame on us as a community. And it's not because, we haven't invested enough in policing. We need to invest enough in our people to care for themselves.
Thank you, Marilyn. And now, Veronica Ariola.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm going to try and be really quick as well. So my name is Veronica Ariola, and I've lived in this West Ridge community for about 20 years. I raised my daughter here. She played soccer at Rogers Park, the actual park, not the neighborhood Rogers Park. And I spent a lot of years on that field, a few years coaching her team and growing in this space. I served on the WRCO board for a bit, as well as served on some of the steering committee that helps establish the West Ridge Nature Park. For the last 25 years, my entire career, I've worked at the University of Illinois Chicago that serves our students, our people, our neighbors, our children. And it's been through this dual lens I'm able to see firsthand what happens when we overinvest in policing and underinvest in our communities. I have students who are as brilliant as any other student in this country who are working 2 jobs to help pay for their families. They are commuting, I'm also a commuter, on the train and the bus, an hour and a half from this area to UIC with a full load of classes and and helping to pay their families' bills. I have seen too many youngest children who are at UIC because the whole family has poured their resources into the youngest or the eldest, and in order to get at least one child through college, which is the epitome of the American dream that we tell ourselves, is that if we can get one of them through college, they can help uplift the entire family. And when I was asked to run for this position and run with these 2 amazing humans, I said yes right away because, as Evite said, we have to get this done right the first time. There are too many people out there who think that this mode of community police accountability is the wrong thing and wants to see it fail. And that's why we continue to have the police union continues to try and throw us off the ballot. They appeal, and they're just trying to drain us of our resources and drain us of our energy. But you've already heard my slate mates. There is no way the 3 of us are drained of our energy. We take it from the community. We take it from years of working in the community and knowing how much need there is and how much promise there is with these councils. And so I am running because I want to see this succeed. I want to see us as community members, as neighbors, come together on a regular basis and talk about the possibilities that we can create. We don't have the answers. We have the answers. And so we need to come together on a regular basis and create those ideas. And then we will take what power we have through the councils and advocate for them. We will be at the alderman's door, the alderwoman's door, whoever is in that office. We have at least 4 alders that encompass this district. We are going to be at their offices asking them for more resources. We are going to be working with you. We are going to be connecting with community organizations in order to make this happen. There have been a number of high-profile incidences in this neighborhood in this last year that rightfully has made us all scared and worried. But I want us to remember that these are moments, and these are the moments that we need to come together in order to continue to move forward. not a moment to lock our doors and shut each other out. We need to come together, and that's going to be the spirit of the work that we do, the three of us do, with the councils. Thank you.